to my excuse. Focused on that. Hi, Coach.
How we doing?
Good, you?
Good. Hop right into it. It's fun to come off of a big win. Talked about it before. There's a lot of things that I think we can improve on. I'm going to move quickly here. It's a quick turnaround when you have a night game. Quickly moving into a good team in Arizona. I think they have some of the best talent. Especially on the offensive side of the ball for them. Coach Fish does a really good job of mixing up looks, but they have really talented wideouts. Their quarterback's playing at a really high level right now, so they present a unique challenge for us, and we're excited to get down to Tucson and attack them.
So right over here with Zach.
You said before that you feel like you've learned something about your team after every game. What do you think you learned about your guys on Saturday night?
It's a continually growing process for us. But overall, I think that we can see we can win in a variety of ways. Obviously we ran the ball really well and didn't connect on some of the shots we had downfield that we had done the week before. So the fact that we can be a team that does things in a variety of ways and still have success, I think that's a positive for us. You can't take away one thing and limit our ability to be successful. Still want to see that sustained focus, that level of play through 4 quarters, and it really doesn't matter who's on the field for us. That standard doesn't change. So I want to see us continue to develop our roster where we can play at a high level throughout the game. But we're getting there and we're building.
Third row, third seat, Chris.
Yeah, you already mentioned their quarterback's pretty good. He's thrown for almost 900 yards the last 2 weeks. What do you do to slow that guy down? And is it mostly what he does, or is it also a product of their talent at wide receiver?
Yeah, I think this is maybe the most talented team we've played so far at wideout. They have really, really talented wideouts, but I think this quarterback really can play well. He throws lasers. He throws the ball on rhythm on a dart, and he doesn't need a big window to be able to attack. He's able to extend plays with his feet. So this is a really good challenge for us. There hasn't been a lot of teams that have really slowed them down offensively. They've only maybe hurt themselves a couple times, to be honest. So they've done a really good job. They get the ball downfield. They take long shots. So this will be a really good challenge.
Front row, left, James.
In your offseason evaluation and preparation for Bo and what he was going to bring to the table for you guys, Dan, obviously he had mobility. You defended him. You knew it very well. But beyond the sacks and the not taking sacks here so far, how do you attribute that he is both leading the country, I think, in red zone passing yards and also one of the highest rushers at quarterback? Those are usually two things that don't necessarily go together, and he is putting it together, plus those situational splits and those things that we've talked about before.
Yeah, knowing Bo and going against Bo for a long time myself, and then Coach Dillingham's familiarity with Bo, we knew how athletic Bo is. He's really talented. He's probably as fast a quarterback as there is out there. The guy runs really well and made some really good decisions there on Saturday to put himself in a position where he can run with the ball, but he's done that consistently this season. So no surprise for anybody in our building.
On the left, third row, Eric.
I think we've asked you about kind of the scuffle on the sideline. Did you have to address anything with your players or teams, or is there kind of an understanding of what took place there?
I think everybody understands it's not what we want to be, to do. Everybody wants to protect their teammates, and, you operate in moments of passion, but there's certain ways you handle situations and certain ways you don't, and that's one that we don't want for us. It didn't help us. There was no benefit there. So, yeah, we absolutely addressed it and moving on to it.
Second row, right, Rob.
Your team, as the season has progressed, you've shown the ability the last few weeks to win and still find areas to improvement and address them, whether it's creating more big plays, tackling better. So when it comes to the penalties, do you feel like you've developed the character the last few weeks to coming off a win and enjoying that and celebrating that, but still your guys are going to focus and be able to clean that up?
Yeah, we've got to improve at it, and we will. But we're working on it. There's accountabilities for every single penalty we had today at practice. There'll continue to be, and we'll keep growing from it. But we can't be a team that has self-inflicted wounds and have the success that we want to do.
Staying on the second row.
Can you talk about Bennett Williams' emergence and, he's kind of having a revenge game against Stanford, not being able to play last year. Can you just talk about his play as of late?
Yeah, Bennett's a really intelligent player. I think he understands what we're trying to do on the field from a schematic standpoint, and he's played with we challenged him early this season to play with a brand of physicality there on the perimeter, and he's done that. He's tackled well, done a good job of getting off perimeter blocks, and I think that showed up in this last game.
Front and center.
Which obviously with a lot of those penalties on Saturday, what was kind of the message to the team, or kind of like just did you do really anything different today to kind of just start the week addressing a lot of those penalties?
Yeah, we're just having another standard of accountability when it happens in practice, making sure we identify it right away. We have officials at every single one of our practices. They throw flags just like you'd throw in a game, and we have to coach those moments.
On the right, Jared.
Dan, just wondering if there's anything new with Justin, if it's looking like he might be able to go on Saturday.
Yeah, I think things are trending in the right direction for Justin.
Front row, Zach.
You touched on it earlier, but you guys got a lot of young players on the offensive line in the game, late in the game. What did you really see from them and kind of their development late?
Just you grow through experience, right? So the opportunity to get on the field and get better, that's going to happen through live reps. And you like to think you have those in practice, but it's even easier to see them in game. I think there's some positive and some negative on both ends of that. We rushed for a ton of yards in the game the other night. I know Coach Clem and Coach Dillingham would tell you we can do a lot of things better there on the offensive line. They didn't necessarily feel like that was our best block game up front. That being said, they've had a lot of success all year. They've done a really good job all year. But seeing some of those young guys step in and be able to do the exact same reps that we do in practice, see those show up on the field is really good for us.
James.
You mentioned some of the deep shots that you didn't quite connect on this past week, Dan. Beyond the ones that were obvious that either just have to be completed one end of it or the other, the two that were more into somewhat double coverage. I mean, not exactly double coverage, but with quarters, like Bo was talking about after the game. Your perspective on that? Does he have to either look somewhere else or look to go a little earlier by way of timing, because just to avoid the second defender a little bit better? And
Yeah, ball has to be thrown earlier, and we don't want to put the ball in jeopardy, right? If they're in position to get their hands on it at the end, that's not something we want.
Back right, Matt.
4 wins in a row. 3 of those have been blowouts. How do you feel like your team's handled success, not overlooking the next opponent?
Yeah, continue to keep the main thing, right? Playing Oregon, not really an opponent, and that's that's our goal, is to keep improving for us, because we want to be the best version of us at the end of the year.
Back left, Trevor.
Just speaking broadly, we're halfway through the season. Just wondering if there's anything that surprised you about being a head coach in the Pac-12, or stands out to you as something unique about being a head coach in the Pac-12 so far.
No, I wouldn't say there is.
Right here, third row, Chris.
Yeah, you've mentioned before that stats don't always tell the whole story, but at the same time, the last couple of games, Noah has really had great stats. What is he doing anything differently these last couple of weeks, or is it just showing up in the stat sheet more?
Yeah, I mean, he's making the plays that come his way, and you can't force yourself to make plays and operate outside of the system. Noah's doing a good job of taking the plays that come his direction, and I think he would tell you there's some things that he's improved on. I think he'd also tell you there's a lot of stuff he can continue to work at. He's a good player when the ball comes his way and he's in a situation where he can make a play, he's going to.
Third row, Eric.
The pass rush in general the last couple weeks gotten home, I think, a little more. You happy with the progression there? And I kind of guess what's the ceiling in terms of improving there?
Yeah, at the end of the day, a lot of that's always going to be based on the team that we're playing, who the quarterback is that we're playing, the front that we're going against. And, some games are going to set up nicer and put yourself in a position where you can actually have more plays on the quarterback and get home a little bit more. Teams that are going to stay in the pocket and throw the ball in a traditional set, or obviously this last game with the slow mesh play that they run. If it's not run and it's not thrown early, then there's going to be a chance for a sack. And I think you saw some of that play out. So it's based on opponent. It's based, a little bit on the schematics, and then it's based on guys winning one-on-ones up front. I thought some of our movements up front were the best that they've been this season, where we were able to play with active hands, and be able to win our one-on-one battles, and that stuck out.
Front row, James.
One of your evaluation on 3 guys in the secondary, starting with Christian, because he obviously had his toughest matchup thus far this season. I think he was 2 of 6 when targeted for just 7 yards and the 1 penalty. But you also got Kamari and Jared in there quite a bit in the meaningful snaps. Just what you saw from them, given that they were playing in more meaningful spots than they had so far.
Yeah, just both those guys, if they put in the work in practice, it's something where it's going to get an opportunity to show up in a game, and they've earned our trust. As they continue to develop and get better and better, they're going to get more opportunities. But yeah, I thought Christian did a good job in his reps that he had. I think he'd like to have that penalty back. Not something that's necessary for him, but it's always good for him to get some challenge and opportunities to play the ball.
Second row, middle, Eric.
Since your team started their first game after the first week of classes, have you noticed any differences between the games you played without classes having started, and have you talked to them about how classes have gone so far?
We've certainly talked about class and how it's going. It's probably too early to assess a big difference just with last week being that first week for us. Have to continue to see how we manage our time moving forward, but I think our guys have done a good job of that.
Third row, middle, Jared.
Dan, it seems like Brandon and DJ got a lot of credit on the defensive line. You touched on their improvements earlier. Just what have you seen from Casey Rogers from an interior line perspective, and how has he developed over the year?
Yeah, Casey's trustworthy. He's a coach, really out there on the field. He has a clear expectation of what we're trying to accomplish defensively and understands that. Also, a guy that can kind of play in some multiple spots, but his veteran leadership shows up. Just a guy that has experience and has done a good job.
Back row right, Matt.
You're pretty high on the receiving core, calling them the best you've faced. What makes them that good? What are you seeing on film that makes these guys pretty special?
Well, they have speed, and then really outside they have size, and they make contested catches, right? So if the quarterback can put it close, they have a great chance of winning on 50-50 balls. For them, I don't know if you'd call them 50-50 balls. It's more like 70-30 because they come down with it a lot of the time. And when you play guys like that, it's going to make the play of everybody around them better. And when they can extend the ball downfield, it sets up their run game. It sets up everything else that they do.
Back to James.
Ross James got to punt all game this past game. It had been up in the air for a couple of weeks. Just your thoughts on how he did and the first time as the full-time guy.
I think he had one elite kick. It was really great. Great location on the field. Great hang time and distance. I think he had one kick that we'd love to have back and could do a better job on. That being said, he showed some good consistency in the game.
Third row left, Eric.
Has Chris kind of locked down the punt return job, and if so, kind of your assessments on how he's been back there recently?
Number one thing for us is possession of the ball, right? When we go out there, you want to have an opportunity to be able to return kicks, but the biggest thing we want is to have possession of the ball, and Chris has done a good job of making sure we have possession of the ball.
Back right, Matt.
State of Arizona has been good for you on the recruiting trail. Opportunity to be down there on Friday. Do you expect to go out on the road, or is it kind of like Georgia where you said it was just all business since it was your first road game?
We'll definitely be able to get some of our coaches out to be determined whether or not I'll be able to get out personally, but we'll definitely be able to get some of our coaches on the road.
Front row, James.
What makes Hunter Eccles particularly effective for them, where he's already, I think, surpassing a lot of the stuff that he did at USC with this opportunity? What allows him and their defense to be as disruptive as he is?
Their front, that's built a little bit off their front. I know their defensive coordinator has a front background as well, but I think they'll play a variety of fronts. They'll be 3 down, they'll be 4 down. They change their blitz packages a good amount, and obviously they try to play to his skill sets, use his talents. He's a good player. He's disruptive, and it shows up.
That's all we got, Coach. Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate your time. Thanks. Buckos win.